Imagine walking into school and someone tells you, take off your hijab or you are not welcome. That's not a dystopian movie. That's like modern France. But here is a shocking part. France is not the only place where Muslims are facing this level of hostility. There are 10 countries where it's even harder to live as a Muslim. Today we'll explore these places and the shocking stories behind them. From Europe to Asia, being a Muslim in certain countries means living under constant pressure. Job bans, systemic violence, and political oppression are just the beginning. We are not just listing countries, we are diving into the stories that reveal how religion, politics, and society collide to create some of the hardest environments for Muslims. India is home to the second largest Muslim population in the world, but you would not know it by how Muslims are treated. Take the story of Muhammad Akhlaq, a 52-year-old man lynched by a mob in 2015 because they suspected he ate beef. His death was not an isolated incident. Over the years, mob lynchings targeting Muslims have become more common, fueled by hate speech from political leaders. The ruling government's silence or even complicity only makes it worse. In China, the story is even darker. Over a million Uyghur Muslims are held in what the government calls a re-education campus. Consider the story of Mihrigul Tursun, a Uyghur woman who was separated from her infant children and sent to one of these campuses. She describes being tortured, forced to renounce her religion, and indoctrinated with Communist Party propaganda. Her story is just one of thousands. Meanwhile, mosques are being demolished and Uyghur culture is being systematically erased. China calls it a fight against extremism. The world calls it a human rights disaster. France prides itself on being the land of liberty, equality, and fraternity. But for Muslims, it's becoming the land of exclusion. In 2020, President Emmanuel Macron sparked global outrage when he defended controversial cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ under the face of free speech. This, coupled with laws banning hijabs in schools and public spaces, has alienated millions of Muslims. Take the story of Sarah, a Muslim teenager who was forced to leave her classroom for wearing a modest headscarf. It felt like my identity was being erased, she said. And it is not just about clothing. Over 20 mosques were shut down in 2021 alone, accused of radical preaching for Muslims in France. Practicing their religion feels like walking a tightrope. Myanmar's treatment of the Rohingya Muslims is one of the worst humanitarian crises of our time. In 2017, the military launched a brutal campaign against the Rohingya, killing thousands and displacing over a million people. Villages were burned to the ground, and women were subjected to horrific sexual violence. One survivor, Aisha, recalls escaping her village at night, carrying her two children across the river and through forests to reach Bangladesh. We lost everything, she said. Today, most Rohingya live in overcrowded refugee camps with little hope of returning home. The world has condemned Myanmar, but justice remains elusive. Even in progressive Sweden, Islamophobia is a growing problem. In recent years, Quran burnings have become a form of political protest, sparking outrage among Muslims worldwide. Consider Rasmus Poland, a far-right activist who burned the Quran publicly multiple times. His actions were condemned globally but protected under Swedish law. For Muslims in Sweden, incidents like this are not just offensive, they are a sign of a society that becoming less tolerant. Australia's government has taken a hardline stance against Muslims, framing it as a fight against extremism. In 2021, authorities raided homes and organizations linked to Muslims in what they called Operation Lecture. Critics argue it was more about targeting Muslim communities than fighting crime. One mosque leader described that experience as humiliating, saying, "We are treated like criminals just for practicing our faith." This environment of fear has left many Australian Muslims wondering if they have a future in that country. And the list doesn't stop there. In Belgium, halal bans and restrictions on religious schools are sparking protests. In Sri Lanka, tensions between Muslims and the Buddhist majority escalated after the Easter bombings of 2019, leading to widespread violence against Muslim communities. In Russia, the Muslim-majority region of Chechnya faces heavy-handed policies under Vladimir Putin's government, and in Denmark, anti-migration rhetoric has left many Muslims feeling unwelcome. These stories highlight a global trend that cannot be ignored. These stories are not just headlines, they are lives, families, and communities. The struggles Muslims face in these countries remind us why unity, awareness, and action are so important. Understanding these challenges is the first step, but awareness means nothing without action. If this video gives you a new perspective, here is what you can do. Subscribe to this channel for more content that sheds light on issues that matter.